know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Fury fam, one thing I will say, just because I want it to be known at the onset that I'm a good human being and I care about good human beings, Tua is up and walking. He's in the back locker room. I wish the young man nothing but the best with his health. I care about his health as a person. I hope he's okay. Just as a person, forget football, put football aside. That being said, it's time to rage, man. I told you guys. I told you. This team took a step back on paper this year. All that hunky-dory nonsense that the Dolphins want you to believe, I told you not to believe it. I told you not to listen to it. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. If there's one thing we could do tonight, it's get Larry K to 2,000 subscribers because I've been keeping it real from jump. Get me to 2,000 subscribers, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. The super chats are open. Become a member. Join. But look, this team looks terrible, even before Tua got hurt. He threw 3 picks. The offensive line looks like crap. The push inside wasn't terrible. But overall, the offensive line looks like crap. And why would you doubt that it's going to look like crap? Because you took a step back. You had Wynn. You had Williams. You had Hunt last year. Now you got Jones and Eichenberg and Brewer? Come on, bro. Why are you coming up to that season with that nonsense? You know you're going to get smacked. It's a joke. It's a joke. And I told you guys, it started with the narratives, right? The first narrative 2 years ago was, well, Tua's hurt. So if Tua can stay healthy for the whole season, we're just hoping Tua stays healthy. If Tua could stay healthy, they just need Tua to stay healthy. So he did jiu-jitsu and he got all bulked up and, Tua's going to stay healthy. That's what we need. Tua stay healthy. And then what happens? What happens? He stays healthy and we still fumble down the stretch. We still lose in December. We still can't win a playoff game. We still fall apart against the best teams. It doesn't get better. But people want to believe the narrative all offseason. Well, just Tua gets healthy. Then this offseason, we come into this offseason, and what do we get this offseason? Well, the defense had so many injuries. The defense had a lot of injuries. We got to rebuild the defense. If we rebuild the defense, got to fix the injuries on defense. Bro, I've been telling you guys. I've been telling you. That was such BS. I told you that was nonsense. I told you not to believe it. I told you that the defense, despite the injuries last year, the defense held up their end of the bargain. The defense played well last year. Even with the injuries, the offense was struggling. The offense lost a step. The offense couldn't do anything down the stretch. But what do we do this offseason? What do we do this offseason? We didn't fix the offense. We got cocky with the offense. We went out and signed OBJ. Paid a couple mil for OBJ. And people are like, we got OBJ, man. Watch out for us. We're going to be a great team now. OBJ. Oh, we're stacked, man. Yeah? I told you that OBJ was a luxury signing, an okay sign. It's a few $1 million down the drain. He's not playing. He's injury prone. He's not playing. And then you get cocky with the O-line. You say, oh, we're going to use our backups from last year. Last year, Eichenberg and Jones started off as backup inside O-linemen. Now they're your starters this year. They're your starter. You cocky like that. You think that's going to happen. Teron Armstead, who's injury prone, who's sitting on the bench again, you don't get a great backup tackle to work both ends with him. You just roll to the season with Teron Armstead, bro. And he's out already. Oh, he had a shoulder harness thing, but then he was sitting out. Sitting out when Tua took the hit, even though it's not a sack. Tua ran head first, should have done that. You bring some bum receivers in to be third and fourth and whoever. OBJ, who's not playing. Oh, yeah, and you fire Fangio. I remember last year, Fangio was the problem. Fangio is so terrible. All the players say how terrible Fangio is. Fangio's the worst. Good thing we got rid of Fangio. Good thing we got rid of Christian Wilkins. You let AVG go. Andrew Van Ginkel, one of your most sturdy, tough, playmaking, heart and soul type guys, you let him go. But you sign OBJ with a couple $1 million. You let Christian Wilkins go. I know he was paid. Christian Wilkins, he wanted too much money. Christian Wilkins wanted too much money. Okay, so we can't pay him. Okay, but you could give Tua the bag, Jalen Ramsey the bag, who, by the way, has looked terrible. He looks like he lost a big step. Hill the bag, all these guys, you can give them all the bag, but you can't give Hunt the bag, can't give Wilkins the bag, can't give AVG even a tiny bag. The hubris in this front office, the hubris that this front office went through this offseason, this had to be one of the worst off seasons I've ever seen in sports. Last year, the Miami Dolphins started the season as one of the best teams in football. The 2023 Dolphins were one of the best teams in football. Despite having some shortcomings at quarterback, whether you want to admit it or not, it's time to admit it. McDaniel designed a system that worked for Tua where he didn't really have to think about it. He could drop back and just throw to a spot in a rhythm offense with a head start for fast wide receivers, and it paid off and it worked, and it took people by surprise. And when we had a healthy line and when we had healthy things, we had healthy receivers, and if the timing worked, it worked. But just like everything in the NFL, eventually defenses figured out what to do and how to stop it. And eventually defenses did stop it. And Tua's shortcomings caught up to him. But we were one of the best teams in football last year. And this offseason, this team, this franchise, this front office went out and tore down and successfully made this team significantly worse than last year. I said it to you. I said that on paper, this team is not as good as last year's team. Last year's team was the team that had a chance, and they blew it in epic fashion. Not because of the defensive injuries, but because the coach could not get it done against serious defensive coaches, could not get it done against high-end teams, and the quarterback, despite being great when the spots were there, when the receivers were there, when the offense was humming early in the year, he couldn't put the team on his shoulders. He couldn't make it play off script. He couldn't actually get it done when it mattered the most down the stretch. That's an ongoing thing with him since college. I know he came in as a freshman and threw a bomb. Since then, he has never gotten it done in the big moments. And I wish him nothing but the best for his health. But when it comes to football, when it comes to being on the football field, he's injury prone. Because that's another thing we talked about. Everybody said, well, he got through the season, so now you got to give him, $50 million. He's got to get the bag. You got fans out here that say they're Dolphins fans, but all they care about is rooting for a player to get the bag. He got the bag. Oh, you guys are going to really got to own up now because he got the bag. He about to get the bag. Who cares about the bag, bro? Part of the problem with him getting the bag was not only was he iffy down the stretch in big games, not only was he iffy off script, but he also, unfortunately, is a person that is susceptible to serious catastrophic injury. So when you give a guy like that the bag and that's the guy that you decide you're going to hook your future to, you're taking a heck of a lot of risk. And I don't know if I've ever seen a more dismal thing than the Miami Dolphins rebuild. They stripped down this team to the studs. They hired a defensive-minded, hard-nosed coach in Flores. They tried to get the number one pick. They tried to get a quarterback and build around him. And I have never seen a more catastrophic, a more disgraceful failure than what this team is now. Because this version of the Miami Dolphins is done. We are going to be rebuilding again. If Ross doesn't pull the trigger now, he's going to have to pull the trigger halfway through next year. So he might as well just do it at the end of this season. He might as well just do it at the end of this season. Chris Greer has got to go. You let Andrew Van Ginkel walk. You play hardball with Wilkins, but you sign Ramsey, make him the highest paid ever. You sign Tua to that monster deal. You roll into the season with your backup O-lineman, your backup interior O-lineman from last year. You roll into the season with a injury-prone tackle who's already out in game 2. You don't do anything to diversify your wide receiver core. You bring in a name. Why is it that the Miami Dolphins consistently let their homegrown players or their younger players who are in the prime of their careers walk because they say they want too much money? They draft Christian Wilkins, but he wants too much money, so we got to get rid of him. They draft Jarvis Landry, but he wants too much money. You can take a hike. They bring AVG in as a young player. He develops into a playmaker and one of our better heart and soul culture guys. And you want to go to the Midwest and we're not going to offer you any more. You could take a hike. Oh, but Jalen Ramsey, you're not in the prime of your career. You're getting older. We're going to make you the highest paid player at your position ever. Tyreek Hill, you're a great player. But these last 2 games, you had 1 touchdown. Okay. Got a lot of off the field stuff going on. We're going to give you the bag. But Christian Wilkins, nah. AVG, nah. We don't care about you guys. We're going to sign Jordan Poyer to a 1-year deal from the Bills. Whose idea was that? Like, why did this team think that they could throw together a hodgepodge of nonsense in the offseason and come back better than last year? We got lucky last week. I got news for you guys. I'm glad we won. I was enjoying it, but I was one of the few people calling out the fact that our line didn't look great and we didn't look good at all. And people were like, sit down, we won. Bro, there were serious problems. We were a fumble away from getting blown out last week at home. A fumble away from getting blown out last week. If Holland doesn't hit the ball right on that punch, he goes in for the score and we get blown out last week. The team looked terrible. It's not like we're so good. Just that the Jags aren't that good either. I don't have any faith in the Jags. But that's 2 weeks in a row to start the season that this team just looks like what this team is, which is a mediocre team. We went from last year, we couldn't get it done in December. We couldn't get it done in January. We couldn't win a playoff game. We were set up to win the division, and we couldn't win the division. And we got worse on paper. We got worse in almost every metric on paper. Why do people think that we were going to be better? Why did people have any hope that this season was going to be some great thing? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It makes no sense. If you guys haven't clicked subscribe yet, what are you doing? Click the subscribe button. It's right here. I'll wait for you. Just click subscribe. I keep it real. I tell the truth about the Dolphins. I'm here chilling with you guys. Carrie D, a official Fury Fam member, guys. If you want to become a member, just join. Click the join button. It's cheap. We're going to be a long journey, so you're going to need me, somebody objective who's actually going to tell it like it is, and not all these guys who are going to blow sunshine up your butt like they've been doing for 3 years. Join and help me to give you the content that you want. No Sweat Sports, my dude. What's up? What's up, guys? Good to see you in here. It's the best thing we could do. At least I'm chilling with you guys tonight because nothing else about tonight is going well. Nothing else about tonight went well at all. But you take a team that was already struggling in certain areas and you just made it worse. The best signing I've seen is probably Jonnu Smith. I liked him. I like what he's done. I think Devon Achane is probably one of the best backs I've ever seen as far as hitting holes and cutting. Tyreek Hill is a generational talent. Jalen Waddle is a generational talent. But you got to now figure out, what are you going to do at quarterback? What are you going to do with the offensive line? And you got to get a guy in here who cares about the offensive line. Somebody in here who doesn't sign big names. You signed Adamakin Sue. Remember that? And you know what? I know people have been getting on me. Oh, he pays the bills. He pays a lot of money. I don't really have a problem with him. I don't. This guy. Ever since this guy got here, we've been hiring dorks like Adam Gase. We've been paying players with big names like OBJ and Adamakin Sue. That's what we've been doing. Paying guys like that. The common denominator is him. And the problem with Miami is you got a lot of fans, I don't know why, that look like this. Anything they do. Tua's playing. I got my new jersey. Tyreek is my favorite player. I like the Dolphins. You got too many of that crap. Not enough people who want to keep it real and get real. And everybody's out there saying, oh, look at all these guys that want to come to Miami. They want to come to Miami so they can play with Tua. They want to come to Miami because they know we're going to win. That's not it, guys. I got news for you. Players want to come to Miami right now because it's an easy ride. They want to come to Miami because it's easy. It's nice weather. There's no state income tax. And the culture allows you to do whatever you want. You want to talk on Twitter? Talk. You want to talk to the media all the time? Do it. You want to laugh on the sidelines while you're getting your ass handed to you? Go for it. You want to screw up on the field and go play Xbox the next day and tell the fans not to worry about it? Do it. This franchise under this coach is a free-for-all. I remember this was so crazy, and nothing against her, and this is one of my favorite players. Another homegrown person who I thought was a really good heart and soul player of this team, Nick Needham. I don't know if anybody saw last year, but Nick Needham's mother went on to Miss Finn's show. Nick Needham's mom went on to Miss Finn's show and was saying that Fangio was a problem. The players didn't like Fangio. And Fangio, was an issue. He wasn't playing the right guys. That's how out of control things were, though. People are just talking like that, just like family members. But then we switch out Fangio, and Weaver comes in, and Needham gets cut. Like, what's going on here? What's going on here? It's a joke. It's a joke what's going on. It's an absolute joke. This team was spinning nonsense to you guys. Spinning absolute nonsense to you guys. All off season. Tua gained all this weight to stay healthy. Then all of a sudden he loses all the weight to get more mobile. It's just an endless cycle of filling the fans' heads with BS and not keeping it real. And somebody says it's Adam Gase 2.0. Yes, it is. It's Adam Gase 2.0. That's exactly what it is. It's soft football. It's fake innovation and catering to a quarterback to try to make an okay quarterback look much better than they are. The Miami Dolphins put pretty much every bit of money they had into trying to prop up a quarterback, which really didn't make any sense when you think about it, because the Miami Dolphins are the ones who are going to have to negotiate with that quarterback. They know that quarterback's injury propensity. They know that quarterback's limitations, yet they propped him up with all of these skills and this coach and this innovative, quirky offense that relied on timing just to set him up so that they had to pay him crazy money just so he could fall back to earth the very next year. It doesn't make any sense. Yet we can't pay Andrew Van Ginkel. Yet we can't pay Christian Wilkins. And all these people that were like, Skyler's the guy. Skyler, bro, get out of here. Skyler ain't the guy, bro. You know what's the guy? You know who the guy is? He's somebody that's in college right now. Because this is over, bro. Scrap it. And I also predicted, I said it privately to people. I didn't want to get here because people get so mad at me. They don't want to listen to me anymore. I'm Mr. Negative. I'm so terrible. You don't want to hear me. I'm not a real Fins fan. So I didn't say it publicly. But I said it to people in private. And some of the members of this channel can attest to it because I've said it to them in private conversations on text. And guys, if you're in here, I got to ask you. If you're in here, if you're watching, if it takes 2 seconds, click that subscribe button. Just click subscribe. Just click it. Can we get to 2,000? What else are we going to do? And G sent me a video, so we're going to have a G video, a reaction video. I'm bringing you content. That's why you got to hit subscribe, join, become a member of Fury Fam. There's going to be a hell of a written column. I'm going to write a column. You have access to the written column if you subscribe. If you subscribe, and you can subscribe right here. Click subscribe, click join, become a Fury Fam member. Super chat's open. I'll talk about your question. If you throw a super chat, I'll bring it up. I'll talk about it directly. But look, this team is going to be torn down now. Anthony, what's up, my bro? This team is going to be torn down now. Carrie, I got you. I got you. This team is going to be torn down to the studs. And I said to people that are members of this channel offline, I said, this team is going to implode. This is the type of team that implodes. Okay? We've seen it with the Jets. We've seen it with other teams. If you were a fan of any other team except the Dolphins, you would see it coming a mile away. This is the type of team that implodes. This is the type of team, the team that has huge expectations, a lot of easy success a season ago, that then comes into the next season with a ton of expectations, but is not going to be anywhere near as good, that has players who are cool as long as they're winning and who are loose cannons who the coaching staff does not have control of. Those types of franchises, those iterations of football teams, they implode. Things start snowballing. Things start going downhill fast. And those teams implode. And I said it to a lot of people that I thought this team was going to implode. There's too many personalities talking too much junk. Javon Holland's talking too much. Tyreek's out there talking too much. Forget this last episode. You could think whatever you want about the police thing, whatever else, but they spent all week talking about it, and that's partially the media's fault. But it's not. The police thing is not in a vacuum. If it wasn't the police, it's something else they're talking about. There's always some distraction. There's always some nonsense going on with this team. And when they lose, it's never that serious. Because football, for this culture of this team is not... This team is not the type of team that wants to be champions or winners. This is the type of team that's chasing the bag, chasing the money. That doesn't mean they're bad people. Be good people off the field. They do a lot for the community in South Florida. They are excellent athletes, excellent football players. I'm not knocking them as human beings. But the culture around this team is, who's going to get the bag? You're going to get the bag. I'm going to get the bag. Who's going to get the stats? You're going to break 2,000. I'm going to break 1,500. Oh, now the market. The market's the market. You got to pay me. Pay him. Pay him. You better pay him. Oh, you got to pay him. That's what this team's about. This team's not like the Chiefs or the Bills, where it's like, we got ragtag guys. Look at the Bills. The Bills have a bunch of key defenders out tonight. One of their captains, a linebacker, got hurt early in the game. He's not even in the game, and they're beating our ass before Tua even went out. But I want you to bookmark this time right here, 24 minutes and 10 seconds on the Larry K Live show this night, September 12th, 2024. I want you to book this time right now, because I'm telling you right now, within 2 weeks, the fake narratives are going to come out again. Within 2 weeks, the narrative is going to be that the reason we got killed was because Tua got hurt and we got demoralized. And if Tua comes back, or if we get some other injection, we'll be back at it, because the reason we lost was because Tua got hurt. But everybody's going to forget. Everybody's going to miraculously forget that Tua threw 3 interceptions. The offense looked terrible. Tua had no answers. McDaniel had no answers. The offensive line looked like trash. The receivers beyond the top 2 looked like trash. The Julian Hill has been trash. No one's going to remember that. That Ramsey was getting burned all over the field. No one's going to remember that, because the narrative's going to be that Tua got hurt, and if Tua could just get healthy, they'll be good. Rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. It's always some excuse. It's always some BS with this team. This is the only team that managed to get that much worse on paper in one offseason that anybody could have seen and predicted it, but also one of the few franchises where the fan base is completely blind to that and wanted to go into this thinking, rah, rah, we're going to be great. We're a Super Bowl favorite because Tua got the bag. Miami Dolphins fans got to wake up too. No more of this. Well, he got the bag. Bro, I don't care, man. It's been over most of my life, over 20 years since they've had any semblance of success. Over 20 years since they've had any inkling of real success. I don't care who gets the bag, bro. I want a tough team that wants to win championships. I don't care how glitzy and glamorous a guy is coming out of college. I don't care if he's charismatic and fans like to buy his jersey. I don't care if somebody has a big name on some other team and won a Super Bowl with another team, and then we sign him because his stats look good and he sells jerseys. I don't care. I want winners. I want a winning GM. I want a winning coach. I want a winning team. I want winning philosophy. And the problem is that initially we got Brian Flores. I'm not saying Flores is great. Flores is the reason we didn't get Joe Burrow because he wanted to be a clown and he wanted to go out and try winning hard as he could. Fine, I understand that. Maybe call him a clown, maybe not, because you know what? You're not supposed to lose. I understand. But before he could even finish what he started, before they could get a quarterback that made more sense in here, before they could finish the job with a hard-nosed team, this dude couldn't help himself. He couldn't help himself. He had to go out, keep Chris Greer, and then he had to go out and get a nerdy guy, just like he always gets, with the glitz and glamour, offensive numbers to sell jerseys and sell tickets, just like Adam Gase, just like Joe Philbin, just like these guys. What's the common denominator? What NFL team consistently hires geeky, weak head coaches that preside over weaky, geek teams? And every time you get a hard-nosed guy, he moves away from him really quick. What's the common denominator? Because even Chris Greer wasn't in charge when Philbin was here. Even Chris Greer wasn't in charge with Adam Gase here. What's the common denominator of all this softness on this soft ass team? Now we can Ross isn't going anywhere. It's fine. Ross can change it in 2 seconds. All he's got to do is, for once in his life, fire everybody and hire a legitimate guy, not a guy that you grew up with, not a guy that you're friendly with from wherever, not any of that crap. A real football guy to come in and run the team without any input from Stephen Ross. He definitely interviewed McDaniel. He wanted to talk to Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, sucks too, but whatever. He wanted to talk to Adam Gase. He brought Adam Gase back. He brought Philbin back because he beat the Vikings in a meaningless game. I don't care what he says about, I'm hiring him to handle football. His doofy ass is in every meeting, interviewing every coach and making a lot of the decisions. And that's why we keep getting soft ass teams with soft ass coaches. He's got to hire a football guy and let him make the decisions. And it's time. We got these guys, Tyreek Hill. Trade him. He ain't getting any younger. And his off the field stuff is not getting any quieter, bro. Awesome couple years. Thanks for the memories. Trade him. Start getting assets this year. Trade him. Teron Armstead, who wants an injury-prone left tackle to plug in because you're going to make a Super Bowl run? Trade him. Trade him. Keep Austin Jackson, maybe. Devon Achane. Jalen Waddle. Jalen Phillips. Everybody else, Trade him. Jalen Ramsey, trade him. That's it. This team is going nowhere. You have guys you're paying way too much money to. It's too top heavy. Trade them for assets. Build up draft picks. Build around your young players. Chop Robinson, I liked what I saw in one of those plays. He put a lot of pressure on Allen, caused Allen to throw the ball short. Chop Robinson, Austin Jackson, Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips. Build around them. Everybody else, these older, in the middle of later in their prime guys getting paid way too much money, trade them. You're not a Super Bowl contender. Trade them. Trade them. And, I understand that people are upset because this is a division rival and it happened all in one game. I understand that. But there were signs last game. This team looked like it was stuck in the mud against the Jags. This team was not focused in the offseason. This team on paper got significantly worse. Last year was the year. Last year was the year. Another member, Nene's in the building. Christopher Aloysius, she's dead right, but I'm telling you, still Ross. It's Greer. Get rid of him. I'm done with Christopher Aloysius. I don't want him on the team anymore. Nene, you called that. Nene, you were right. Get rid of Christopher Aloysius Greer. He's gone. And guys, we got 52 people in here. Hit subscribe. Please click that subscribe button. I'm going to stay with you all season, even though it's going to be a rough season. I'm going to stay with you through the rebuild. We're going to have real talk on here. We're going to have objective analysis on here. We're not going to be screaming back and forth, and we're going to talk here, okay? I'm not going to clout chase, and say I know things I don't know. I'm not going to play that, they're so good and make you feel better. I'm not going to just hate on them all day. I'm going to give you something a little different. I'm going to come straight at you. We're going to collaborate with all the other channels, especially the Finn's Tailgate. Those are my dudes, especially Shake. You know who we are out here with. We're going to keep coming, bringing you content. You got to hit that subscribe button. Help me grow. Help me grow. Because I don't think that enough reality hits this fan base on a regular basis. And if I get more subscribers, we will get more knowledge out there into the fan base. And Fury Fam will be able to run things a little better. Fury Fam is going to be out here strong. So click that subscribe button. It's right here. I'll wait a second. I'll wait a second for you to click it. Just click it. We got super chats open, man. You can join. I got a column coming out tomorrow. I'm going to write about the Dolphins. It's like $3 a month, $2 a month. You can join, become a member. Click join and become a member. Support the channel. Helps me keep this content going, even though the Dolphins really make me cry, like Hootie and the Blowfish said. And Anthony says, funny part is I keep hearing people blame Marvin Allen, Reggie McKenzie for the field draft picks. I don't think they have the power. I think it's Greer. I think it's the whole team. I think it's the whole scouting department. Chris Greer has been here for 2 decades. He's the head of the scouting department. He's the GM. I'm not saying you have to fire every scout, but you need to revamp scouting. You need to revamp scouting in a big way because you're going to rebuild now. It's time to rebuild. Okay, so if you're going to rebuild, you better go in with a new squad. A new squad. Thank you for subscribing. I know a lot of you guys are subscribed already, but I'm just trying to get the ones who aren't to join. We got a dedicated listener base of Fury fan members. I'm trying to grow that community. You guys are awesome. I'm trying to grow that. I'm trying to get more members. I'm trying to do those things to just keep this thing moving forward because the Dolphins sometimes depress us, but this community is really all we have here. And me just being on here talking to you guys is really all we have in some of these instances. But you got to go, you're going to rebuild, and you got to rebuild with a new team. You can't rebuild with the same personnel who you've been building with for all this time. You've got to rebuild with a new squad, man, a new philosophy. And I really think that Stephen Ross needs to hire a football person who's been around the league, like somebody who's a deputy. Like, let me tell you something. I might not be a football guy, but I'm a smart guy, okay? And I've seen things that work and I've seen things that don't work. And with any organization, whether it's football or whether it's something else, try to find the person that's up and coming, right? Don't try to go for the guy who has some issues somewhere else, who was great once and he has good accolades, but, he's kind of past his prime. Don't go for the random total chance, like, oh, the prodigies. I'm sick of seeing that in today's society. Everybody either wants like the way has been super old person who is nowhere near where they used to be, or they want like the up and coming prodigy that you're going to hit lightning in a bottle, strike gold in the river, and you're going to bring up some like 30-year-old, whiz kid who doesn't have a huge resume, doesn't have a ton of experience, but his uncle is so and so, and he's worked at this one place, and he did this one pick, and all of a sudden he's a boy genius. What you got to do is find the middle management guy, right? Find the person who's one step down from a really successful GM. A really successful GM, right? The deputy. Like, who's a GM right now who's in their prime, not past their prime, but in their prime, a team that's doing well? Who's at KC? I know they got a great coach, but who's running the front office? Like, who's in these places? Who's I know it's Lynch at 49ers, but go there, right? Who's currently killing it? They're not leaving. But who's their deputies, right? Who's the people right under them? Who are the people that are helping them to be successful, that are learning but also have their own ideas? Some of those guys are relying on the guys underneath them to be successful. Not everybody who's the head is the reason. Some guys under them are killing it too. Go find the best deputy from one of those teams. Get the resumes, get the referrals, vet that person right in that, ready to go to the prime of their career, and hire them. Hire them to be the GM of the Miami Dolphins. Hire them to run football. And then bow out. Don't sit in the meetings. Don't go to the interviews. You want to take when you're the owner of the team, you want to impress somebody that your GM likes, go fly out and pick him up with your GM. But don't interview him. You are not a football guy. You're like the host. You're just trying to show this guy a good time and that you're going to pay him. So bring your GM to the coach or whatever, and let the coach, let the GM hire the coach, and you just say, hey, do you want a drink? You want a cigar? You want me to fly you around the world? What do you want? I'm Stephen Ross. I got a lot of money, whatever you need. And then leave. Don't have any input into the coaching search. Don't have any input into who you draft. Don't have any input into who's on the field. Don't have any input into the offensive or defensive philosophy. Don't have any input into any of that. Hire an up-and-coming deputy from a successful team. Make him your GM. Make him head of your football operations. And then walk the hell away and let him hire his people. And while you are at it, you better lay the foundation. You got two options if you're the current front office. You can fire Greer and go about it yourself. You can tell Greer what to do and let him coast out on a severance, whatever you want to do. And Big O's about to get some act right now because Big O's been defending this front office. This team is constructed terribly. Big O is also a huge Tua-neer, and Tua has not been cutting it for pretty much his whole career now. He's been okay. Like, I'm not trying to destroy the kid. He's a good point guard. In a system that works for him with the right talent, Tua can be a very effective quarterback. But as soon as he's got to put the team on his shoulders and he's got to be the superstar and he's got to be the reason we win, he can't do it. And the problem in this league today is, and like I said, I may flip out, I may have rants, man, but if you're still with me, like, I know what I'm talking about, man. I'm an attorney. I'm well read. I'm a writer. I've been following football at a very close clip my entire life. I have friends who are in the industry who are actual coaches at high levels. The fact is that in this league, the way it's currently structured, you have to pay your quarterback so much money that your quarterback has got to be a significant amount of your offensive output all the time. Because so much money's going into that quarterback that they can't just be a point guard. They can't just be passive. They can't just be a distributor. There's too much money being spent there for them to just be a distributor. If you're going to pay a quarterback that kind of money, they have to put the team on their back at least some of the time because that's where the money's going. So that's where the offensive output has to be. That's where the money's going. You have to do that. You have to do that. Otherwise, you got to take a guy at a discount. Like, is Mahomes even in the top 5? But yet he puts the team on his back. It's like it's not even hard for him. I'm reading comments here. Head of football operations is fine, but I don't even think you need that. I think you can go back to the old days, man, the 1950s, whatever. Just have a GM, a legitimate GM. He runs football. He hires the coach reports to him, and he gets the personnel with the coach. And it's his team. You want to call him a head of football operations, fine, but I don't want a washed up person, right? I don't want another Bill Parcells, and I love Bill Parcells. I'm a Jersey guy. He's a Jersey guy. He won Super Bowls with the Giants. I have nothing against Bill. I thought Bill built a pretty decent team here, just screwed up on the quarterback. But I don't want like a Bill Belichick or a Bill Parcells, one of these guys who's 60, 70 years. 60 is okay, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like past their prime by 10 years, who's going to be the head of football operations and then kind of come to work 3 days a week, hire a GM, and then it's all muddled. Like, I don't want a Mike Tannenbaum. Like, none of that. Hire a GM and let the GM run the team. He drafts his quarterback. He hires his coach. He runs the team. And you as the owner stay out of it once and for all. And I'm really sad about what's happened to our Dolphins this year. I'm not as upset as I would have been if this happened in September of last year, because last year was the best team I've ever seen the Miami Dolphins have since I was a kid in the 80s and 90s. Last year on paper was the best team I've seen. This year's team on paper is simply not as good as last year's team. So I'm not that surprised that the team is going to take a step back. I thought it was very possible the team would take a step back. The team wasn't as good on paper. Your interior O-line was your backups from last year. That just is indicative of where the team was. And if you guys are in here, I'm going to ask you again, click subscribe, man. Please do me that favor for Fin Nation, a fellow Fins fan. We're all Fins family. Hit that subscribe button. We're keeping it real here. I'm giving you content. I got a written column if you want to join. Click join to become a member and get the written column. It's worth it. It really is. Ask the members that are in here. It's worth it. But click subscribe if you're in here. Let's get to 2,000. Let's get to 2,000. I'm going to keep keeping it real with you guys. Let's get to 2,000 because I'm going to stick it out through this rebuild. You're going to have somebody here with legitimate ideas, with legitimate insight that you can tune into. Not every single day, maybe, because I got other things going on. But when it matters, I'm going to tune in here. I'm going to tune in. I'll be here and you guys can talk to me. Minnesota Jets fan, I appreciate you, bro. I really do. I appreciate that. Those kind words. And it does suck because that was like the future. That wasn't like a end of the road thing. But look, what I'm going to say is, as much as Tua had a lot of promise and as much as we were excited about this era, especially last year, this was a toxic period where, it was cult-like. It was cult-like with Tua and with McDaniel. It's just cult-like where you couldn't be objective. You couldn't look at the play and make an objective assessment. There was always like, whenever we won, it was because Tua won it. But whenever we lost, it was not his fault. And it just got to a point where it's like, it's just a toxic environment. There's no objectivity in the fan base. There's just two different factions that are always fighting against each other. And maybe this is a time we can finally just have a new iteration of the Dolphins. It's really sad because we had a lot of hope. Last year was the most hope I've ever had since I was a young kid with Dan Marino to actually go to a Super Bowl. And yet by the Titans game, I knew it wasn't going to happen. By the Titans game, I knew it wasn't going to happen. So then this year, once they let me down and I saw on paper that we didn't get better, I wasn't hopeful. So I'm not as heartbroken. I am heartbroken because I'm a Dolphins fan, but I kind of saw this coming. I hate to say it. And Carrie D, again, she's a member. She's got the logo. She gets highlighted. You get preference on the panels. You get preference with your comments when you're a member. Carrie says, I like Brad Holmes in Detroit. He's in that sweet spot at 45, and they're moving and shaking to do all the right things, and they have energy. That is a great point, Carrie. That's the exact type of person I'm looking for. Somebody with a team who's doing all the right things, who's right around there, 40, 50, right there, ready for their chance, that's been experienced, working their way up their whole career to get that position, who has a list of coaches that they would hire, a list of philosophies that they would employ, a list of contacts, trades they'd make, strategies they've been waiting to use, a list of mistakes they saw some of their predecessors make, a list of successes they saw some of their predecessors make. Not the boy wonder, not the old man who just wants to stack his stat list and cool out and make another couple $1 million in South Florida for his retirement. That middle-managed, middle-aged, ready to go, ready to make his name, ready to seize his moment. That's the guy that we got to go after. That's the guy that we got to go after. And he's out there. He's out there. And what he's got to do, what Ross has to do now, is decide, are you going to hold all this team together, go down in flames, or show some fight? They might show fight towards the end of the season. See who shakes out. Like which one of these guys is too much of a diva? Which one of these people is too much of a diva and can't handle it and shakes out? And which of these guys sticks it out and does well? And hold on to them and then let the next GM decide who to trade and who to keep and who they want to build around? Or you start trading these pieces now. These expensive pieces who are still in their prime but are not going to be in their prime for long, who are not going to be able to play through another rebuild. You start getting those guys ready to go and you trade them. And then you bring in a GM with a bunch of assets to rebuild the team. That's the other option. Guys, we got over 100 people in here. Hit that subscribe button. If you're a Bills fan, you're welcome. Hit the subscribe button. AFC East fan, NFL fan, Miami Dolphins fan, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers tonight because I'm trying to keep it real. It's a tough night for me. I'm a Dolphins fan, man. It's a tough night for me. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Do me a favor and hit the join button, become a Fury fan member, hit the super chat, say whatever you want. I'll highlight it, make a donation to the channel. Lord knows we need it right now. But at the end of the day, man, it's time to rebuild. It's going to be a rebuild now. And thank you, Diana. I think we suck so bad in primetime, Dark Knight, because I just think this team is not built for those moments, right? It's just not built for those moments. And it was funny. Last year, I saw something where it was, we went to Germany. And this is the type of thing where it's like football philosophy versus life philosophy, right? We went to Germany, and I remember thinking, wow, McDaniel's a really nice guy. He took his whole team to Germany. They got to go early in the week. They adjusted to the time zones. They went out. They saw the Germany. They got to tour it a little bit. They had a good time, etc. And wow, the Chiefs, they showed up just like 2 days before. They didn't do any sightseeing. They're not adjusted to the time. It must suck to be on the Chiefs. But then you go to the game, and the Chiefs came out and punched us in the mouth. Because they treated it like a business trip. They treated it like a business trip, and the Dolphins treated it like a vacation. And that's the difference between this team and other teams. And you ask me why we don't do well in prime time. That's the reason. This team's not built to be able to go into prime time against legitimate opponents down the stretch in key games with a lot of pressure and succeed. This team's just not built to be able to do that. Now, the Bills are. The Chiefs definitely are. The Bills struggle sometimes too against in those games. The Chiefs don't. The Patriots never did. Giants did it when they won the Super Bowl. You need that extra gear where all you care about is winning. You need that extra gear where you live, eat, and breathe football. Not the gear where you just want to get your stats up, get the bag, and you can't wait to go home because you live a great life. And I'm not knocking anybody as a person for that. You have every right. You made millions of dollars. You want to enjoy your life. Life is short. You only live once. You care about other things. Football is just a job, man. I don't knock your hustle. Do you? That doesn't make you a bad person. But as a fan, some of us, check your pension fund, bro. Check your 401k. What do you got? 100 grand in there? 50 grand? 200 grand in there? These dudes are making millions a year. We can barely go to 1 or 2 games a year. You're lucky. And the concessions are going to set you back 2 weeks. So I think as fans, we don't have to knock them as people, but we got a right to get players here who want to win, who care about winning, who are dedicated to it. And it starts at the top. It starts with the owner and the philosophy of the owner. Look at this guy. This is the guy we got to deal with. He's having fun. He's bringing in nerdy guys that he gets along with. He likes glitz and glamour. The whole mentality starts from him. Talking however you want on Twitter. Fan. Then it starts with him. It goes all the way down to this. These guys. Anything you say, Dolphins. You're always going to be good. Don't trash them. You're my favorite player. There's too much of that going on in Miami, man. There's too much of that. We got to demand better. We got to stop thinking that it's okay to just show up and have some glitzy stats and have a fun regular season and sell jerseys. And maybe we sign Tannehill. I mean, we're going to sign somebody. We're going to sign somebody. I don't know who we're going to sign. But I think here's the thing I want you to understand, though, because this is what G was saying before, and this is what I was saying earlier. And I'm warning you. The narrative 2 years ago was, oh, they just need Tua to stay healthy. Tua stayed healthy. We still sucked down the stretch. We still didn't do what we had to do down the stretch. The next year, it's, oh, the defense had a lot of injuries. We need to rebuild the defense. Even though the defense was pretty good. Despite the injuries, the defense held up their end of the bargain late in the season last year. The offense struggled. But the narrative was we got to rebuild the defense, rebuild the defense, rebuild the defense. And we could barely do anything with the offense. Okay. But both times the narrative was not true. And a lot of people fell for it. A lot of people fell for the narrative because they were sitting there like this. Whatever you say, you're my favorite player, favorite team. The narrative now is going to be, I'm telling you, these guys are going to start, they're going to be quiet for a day or two. Because for a day or two, you can't get around the truth. But then they get in their little message boards, they get in their little channels, they get in their little chats. And they start talking about talking points and they justify it to each other and they try to speak it into existence. And they're going to come up with a narrative. And the narrative is going to be, just like somebody said in the chat, like, oh, you know, losing wasn't so bad. It's just that we lost Tua. The reason we lost is Tua got an injury. If only Tua could stay healthy. Tua had a head injury again. Once we get Tua back, or once we plug in another quarterback, or, you know, whatever, we're going to be good again. Because the issue was that Tua got hurt. And that's going to be another false narrative. That's a false narrative because he was already not playing well before he got hurt. 3 interceptions. I understand. One hit the receiver's shoulder. I don't know who that guy is. I don't know why he's in there. It's another problem. But it still hit his shoulder, so it wasn't like he was like a drop in his hands. He missed Julian Hill. Julian Hill could have caught it, but like he still missed him. Missed Tyreek Hill on the sideline. Missed him last week. And one of the interceptions to Robbie Chosen, I understand people are saying Chosen is a bum and he must have run the wrong route. I understand it looked like he ran the wrong route in some way, but here's the thing, man. There was a defender right there. So what was the route then? The route was right into the defender, to run right into the defender. People saying it's a go route. It wasn't a go route. He didn't throw it down the field, threw it to the defender. So there was miscommunication for sure, but it wasn't all on Chosen. Tua was not playing well, but it's not just on Tua. I mean, the offensive line. But what do you expect? What do you expect? Of course, Big O is, because Big O he's a Tua near. Now he thinks Big O is going to be one of the #1 narrative spinners. I want you to pay attention to somebody like Big O. Big O is going to be saying that Chris Greer deserves a pass and that the front office deserves a pass because Tua got hurt and it was just an impossible accident that is a freak thing that no one saw coming, and that's the reason that the season was derailed, and everybody deserves a pass because Tua got hurt. Big O is going to be saying that. Everybody deserves a pass because Tua got hurt. But he's ignoring the rest of the game where the team looked like crap. And that's on Chris Greer. And that's on the front office. And that's on the coaches. And that's on the owner. And that's on the whole franchise. And that's on the culture around this franchise. They're going to start acting like, well, Tua got hurt. It's unfortunate. No. This team was a disaster before he got hurt. Now it's just a worse disaster. But that was one of the things you had to figure in. One of the things you had to consider when you chose to bring Tua back on this massive contract. He had injury problems. He also had questions on the field when it got into prime time in big time games. And Shields makes a good point. It was a regular football play. Shouldn't have used his head, but it was a regular football play. It wasn't like a freak accident. It wasn't a freak accident. But he's injury prone. He's got severe limitations on the field. And when you chose to pay him like that and then pay Ramsey and all these other older guys that are a little bit older than you want, you're going the wrong way. Pay your beast young guys. Pay Andrew Van Ginkel. Pay Christian Wilkins a year earlier what he wanted so you didn't have to pay him that ridiculous contract he got in Vegas. These are hard-nosed guys. These are homegrown guys. Then you could get a quarterback in here. Imagine if we had got a quarterback in here the year before this who could put the team on his shoulders a little more. I know it's not easy. I'm not saying he's somebody to pull out of a hat. But somebody you maybe somewhat believed in to maybe step in. And then just in case the catastrophic happened that we just saw happen, it could happen. I mean, he made the same hand motion that he made in Cincinnati, and I was at the game in Cincinnati. That's the same neurological problem that was triggered in Cincinnati with the hand movement. So this was foreseeable. I think for Tua's sake, he definitely should retire now. He got a bunch of guaranteed money, and good for him. He worked his ass off his entire life since he was a little kid to get lifelong financial security. And he got lifelong financial security at the cost of the Miami Dolphins. But it's time to move on, bro. But you're going to have Tua out here saying the narrative. He got hurt. Once he comes back healthy, watch out for us. We're going to win the Super Bowl. He got hurt. He's got the bag. When he comes back, he's going to be a world beater. But it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. He should retire. He should retire. He did everything he could possibly do in the game of football. He should retire, take that money, and go enjoy his life. There is no reason why he should be back on that football field. I didn't say that the first time, but I'm saying it now. It's bigger than football. But just like I said, what do TUA fans get out of TUA getting the bag? They don't get any of the money. Well, what do Dolphins fans care if Stephen Ross lost $200 million? Who cares? He didn't lose $200 million because it's not all guaranteed. Whatever's guaranteed, he lost. Okay. Oh, well, that's your problem, Stephen Ross. What do I care? It doesn't affect me. TUA retires, and maybe we could rebuild this team sooner rather than later. TUA wasn't playing great before he left, man. He had serious limitations. He'd never won a playoff game. I'm not happy that he got hurt. I wanted to see what he could do. I wanted him to be a Dolphin for a while. He's a good dude. He's fun to watch when he's on. He's fun to watch when the offense is humming. I wanted TUA to be here. But it wasn't like the fans, if we have to rebuild, are like, oh my God, you know, we were on our way to the Super Bowl and now we're not. I mean, this team wasn't headed anywhere, man. This team was not headed anywhere, bro. Maybe a fun season with a chance to be in the playoffs, but we were a bubble playoff team this year. And I know we were a bubble playoff team this year because we were literally a bubble playoff team last year. Literally. So, of course, we were a bubble team this year. So now Stephen Ross loses $100-something million to TUA. TUA walks away. He's set for life. Why are we mad? Time to rebuild. In 2 years, we'll have another young quarterback, another coach, another philosophy, and we start over. That's the life of an NFL fan, man. That's a life of a football fan. That's the life of a football fan. But he wasn't winning, so maybe this is a way for him to make his exit gracefully. Take that money and go live your life and be successful. And that's it. Now you don't have to deal with the scrutiny. Now you don't have to deal with maybe not winning in December again or losing in the big games. Like, whatever. It's over, man. It's over. But that's okay. It's okay for the Dolphins. It's okay for Dolphins fans. It's okay for TUA. Greer could go on his way, get a job somewhere in some front office. McDaniel, he's a brilliant offensive coordinator. Go be an offensive coordinator somewhere on a team that's maybe a great defensive team, but needs some help on the offensive side of the ball. Go hone your skills. You'll get another shot at being a head coach. Get a little older. You know, learn how to control the team a little bit more. Get a little more respect under your belt so that the team's not just running wild. Go be an offensive coordinator. I mean, this is okay. These guys can move on, man. Let Holland walk. Holland's a good player, but he wants a ton of money, and we're going to go through a rebuild. Let him go get his money. Trade some of these other guys that are getting paid a ton of money. Trade them for assets. Stockpile picks. Build around your young core. You should have built around your great guard. You should have built around them before. Should have built around your defensive lineman. Should have built around your heart and soul outside linebacker. Instead of going out and making these weird moves. Jordan Poyer, what are you doing? What are you doing? Jordan Poyer on a 1 year? Your interior O-line is your backups from last year. What are you doing? What are you doing? Build around Jalen Phillips, Devon Achane, Austin Jackson, Chop Robinson, Jalen Waddle. Build around those guys. Build around those guys. And guys, if you like the content, I see some people in the comments. If you like the content, if you like what I'm talking about, we're going to go through this process together. So hit subscribe. Let's get to 2,000 views. There's no reason why this channel doesn't have 2,000. Like, I know I don't do it as much as some people, but the quality over quantity is on this channel, man. Hit the subscribe button. Become a member of Fury Fan. We'd love to have you. We love you here. We love to be around. Make sure you hit subscribe and then hit the notification button and tune in when I'm on. And we're going to have a panel on Tuesday night. Just feel free to come up and talk. Not a lot of people came up and talked last Tuesday, but Tuesday we have a panel show. You can come up and call and talk. And there's a membership button there. You can join. It's only a few bucks a month, and you get access to the written column behind the scenes. I'll talk to you about the Dolphins while I'm driving around my neighborhood and things. And you get a written column and other perks. Exclusive member content. So consider joining. I really appreciate you guys all being in here and listen to me as we go through this tonight. I truly do, and I truly appreciate your support if you subscribe or you join. Phil, who's a Fury Fan member, and when you're a Fury Fan member, your comments almost always, not always when it's real busy, but usually your comments get up here and get highlighted without having to use the super chat, although people do use the super chat even as members because it's great to support. We appreciate that, obviously. But Phil says, these phonies, there's no reason Chris Greer should have a job. This whole roster stinks, and he's responsible. You can't win NFL games with SHIT on both lines. Yeah. I've been saying that. I never was convinced that the trenches on this year's team were going to get it done. And I don't think it's rocket science. But I think it shows a severe lack of attention and in philosophy, right? They don't seem to care about the trenches. It's all about the perimeter. It's all about the glitz. It's all about the glamour. And this is an ongoing problem with this franchise. And what is the common denominator? What is the common denominator of not caring about the trenches? From Philbin to Gase to McDaniel to the signings. And then, yes, you hire Chris Greer. Chris Greer is a big part of it. It's not just Ross, Chris Greer. But who puts Chris Greer in charge? Who lets Chris Greer stay in charge? There's no emphasis. Like, last year, the reason, and I don't know why no one understands it. Maybe it's because of the TUA hype, or, TUAneers just don't want to let go of it, or the TUA anger back and forth between the two factions that hate him, that love him. The reason we started off, one of the reasons, it's not the whole reason. One of the reasons was McDaniel was innovative, and he came up with a system with the weapons we had that really brought out TUA's skill set, but it was eventually figured out. The reason we were so good and things looked so easy last year was because our offensive line was very effective. Football, it's not rocket science. People want to make it rocket science. And fans look at the perimeter plays and the perimeter players, but football still is a game of momentum that starts at the base. It starts at the line, man. If football didn't start at the line, you wouldn't even have the line. The line wouldn't start with the ball. They wouldn't be close. Football is still a game of progress backward or forward. And it all starts with the line, not just in some abstract figurative way. It all starts with the line. No, literally the motion, the inertia, the movement, the friction, it starts with the line. Everything comes out of the line play. Running, passing. Teams that look like they're flowing and chucking the ball around and marching all over another team, it's not just because they're throwing the ball like a 7-on-7 game. It's because of that momentum up front that sets the tone. And last year, the Miami Dolphins had a concerted effort to build out that offensive line for the first time in forever. Connor Williams, win. And Hunt he's a homegrown guy. He became one of the best guards in football. Armstead, injury prone, but still one of the best. Austin Jackson, then you had the guys roaming. Eichenberg was a backup and a pretty good backup, but not a starter. And the reason we were so good is because that line was playing so well. And part of the reason we fell off was when that line got hurt late in the year. So for this front office and this coaching staff, it's really, honestly, it's malpractice. It's negligence. It's reckless, indifferent negligence. To go into this season knowing what you knew about last year and how effective the line was and how much harder it was without those guys. It was malpractice to go into this season with your backups from last year as the two starting guards. Your backups from last year as the two starting guards. Aaron Brewer, who's an okay center, did not rate very high to replace Connor Williams, who was an awesome center. Armstead, who's injury prone, and no viable backups. That's malpractice. Jonah is in here. Jonah Paritsky, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support. Well, I'm up here talking. I'm up here laying down knowledge and logic and fact and trying to just be patient and calm. And I really appreciate the support. It keeps me going to be like, yo, you know what, Larry? Let me break you up a little bit. You're doing well. I appreciate you. He says, Teron Armstead couldn't even get through 2 games this year. That signing is everything wrong with the Greer era. And I'm going to leave that up there for a little bit because it's so true. And Jonah, that makes absolute sense. Right? I said before that part of the biggest problem with the Greer era and the Ross era is that we let our homegrown, tough-nosed kids walk every time. We always tell them that they want too much money from us. Hunt, you're one of the best guards in football. You're homegrown. We watched you grow before our eyes. You're entering your prime. It's time for your contract. Take a hike, kid. We're not paying you. Wilkins, we're going to play hardball with you. Bet on yourself. We're not going to give you what you want so that the next year you demand even more. Take a walk, kid. I don't care that you're like a force on this defense and you're great in stopping the run and you are an emotional leader. Get out of here. Sorry, kid. All the way back to Jarvis Landry. Not that he came out so great, but I remember he was a good receiver for us, man. Take a hike. You want too much money. But to your point, Jonah, somebody else who already did well somewhere else, but now they're entering the back end of their prime, who wasn't homegrown. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey. Oh, come in. We're going to pay you. Oh, make you the highest paid player ever. Can't afford to keep AVG around. Can't afford him, but man, I'll pay you whatever you want. Let me write the check. Ndamukong Suh. Oh, got to have you, man. We'll make you the highest paid D tackle ever. Ndamukong Suh. Yeah. You can give us a couple more personal fouls while you're at it. Got Teron Armstead, who goes out to adjust the shoulder strap. Next thing you know, he's on the bench. Look, warrior, awesome player. I could never do the things he does. But why are you spending all that money? And forget it. Spend the money on him. You want to spend the money on Teron Armstead? Fine. But where's your backup? Lamb's okay, but where's your backups, bro? How are you going to go into a season with that? That's your plan? He's out the second game. He's out the second game, bro. Oh, we can't pay OBJ. I mean, we can't pay AVG, but we like to swap the alphabet. We can sure pay OBJ. I never loved that signing. People were mad at me then because I was saying OBJ. What's the big deal? Why are we doing that? You're so mad. Come on, man. We're like unbeatable now. OBJ. Everything's about a name with the Dolphins. Everything's a name. OBJ. Oh, now we're never going to be beaten. Yeah, look at OBJ. Holy crap, OBJ. Because he's got a name? That's the dude who just got thrown off a plane for acting a damn fool last year. But that's who the Dolphins like to sign, right? Guys who are loud and want to be outspoken and want to have all the attention on them off the field. Guys who have never won a ring. I mean, Tyreek did, but look at the Chiefs after Tyreek left. It wasn't because of him per se, man. They kept winning. The guys who usually don't win, super loud, big names, who don't get on the field. OBJ's on the pup list, man. We could have used him. We're spending money on him instead of AVG. What are we doing? AVG's over there getting pick sixes for the Vikings. What are we doing? Signing who? Shaq, who left, didn't want to play, quit on us? Who's vetting him? Who had the interview to bring him on? Who decided, well, I'm going to get rid of Wilkins, but I really want this guy? What? He left. Good point, Diego. Also playing for Flores. Good point. And guys, if you're in here, there's 200-something people in here, man. We got to get to 2,000 subscribers tonight. There's no reason we're not. There's no reason we're not going to be at 2,000 subscribers tonight. Hit that subscribe button if you're in here. I mean, I'll wait for you. I'll wait 2 seconds just so everybody in here who's not subscribed could hit it. I'm going to wait a second just to get more subscribers. Hit it, and I'll start talking again. Just hit the subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button. Thank you. It's right here. Like you just take your mouse and just click it. It's right here. Yeah, and Reek's a good teammate, but like, you know what? How great of a teammate are you if you have a lot going on with antics and whatnot? You know, I'm not trying to call his character into question, and I'm not talking about this cop thing that happened. But there's other things too, man. You know. There's other things too. And then you got Lamar Jackson. He was maybe out there. You had a couple different times where you could have made different decisions. You had so much draft capital. When you first had this rebuild. Minkah Fitzpatrick, totally not used right. Could have been an anchor to this team. Just dysfunction, disorganization. You have all this draft capital. Then you have a hard-nosed team with a lot of promising players. And then you have the best team on paper that you've had in 20-something years last year. And you could make a couple tweaks to get that across the finish line. You could even maybe bring guys back like AVG and guys like that, and maybe even say, hey, this quarterback situation, we're not totally sure because there's injury problems. There's, clutch problems. There's concerns. Let's wait a little bit, or let's bring in some insurance policy. And the Dolphins chose blatantly to just say, no, we're just not going to do that. That's malpractice, man. There's a whole lot of malpractice going on. A whole lot of malpractice. And Carrie D says the management feeds off the chaos. It's a show. That's worth more to them than well-executed plan. I agree, and that's the sad part. That's where it comes down to. That's where it comes down to this guy. The orange carpet. The Tim Tebow Gator Night. Gator Night. Just think about that. Not only is he playing for another team on the field that day, but he's in Miami, in the same stadium that the Hurricanes play football in. And you're going to have Tebow Gator Day. It just shows this guy, he's all about how do I make a quick buck. TUA sells jerseys. Tyreek Hill sells jerseys. Well, to answer your question, I mean, there's always injury clauses in contracts. It's usually going to protect the player, as it should, right? I mean, it's a dangerous game. Guaranteed money is guaranteed money. I mean, Tua's walking away with the guaranteed money, but if he can't play or he chooses to retire, there's a retirement is he's not going to get the money that he would have gotten had he played the games. He's still going to get the guaranteed money that was no matter what. And then there's injury settlements. You know, teams can pay off injury settlements that are part of the contractual obligation. If you want to cut him because of injury, you can pay him this severance. Like it's like an injury settlement. So he'll have money, but there are ways that we're not going to be paying the same against the cap every year if he's not playing. There'll be dead cap space because some of that dead cap is from the guaranteed money. It has to be spread out over time, right? So if you pay $100 million, some of that's got to be space allotted to other years. So you're going to have that dead cap space spread out, say 25 million a year or whatever you want to do. But you're not like actually paying more money if he's not playing. You're just spreading out that dead money that you would have paid no matter what, that you already paid him. So that's why it's like, I feel bad because I don't want Tua to be injured, but like he'll be fine for the rest of his life. And the Dolphins, you know, the worst that happens, you eat some dead cap space for a couple of years and the owner eats the guaranteed money, but like the Dolphins can eventually move on. You know, there's plenty of revenue going on in the NFL. Look at all, they're expanding to Brazil, expanding to Germany, expanding to England, every different streaming service, YouTube, they got plenty of money. The Dolphins will get their money back. I'm not worried about the Dolphins' money, honestly. If anything, I'm pissed off that I spend money on Dolphins merchandise, Dolphins tickets, Dolphins, everything else, TV, everything to watch the Dolphins, and they constantly let me down. I'm not worried about their money. And this is what, remember I said this, bro? I said two things. I want you to remember this, guys, too. Like, if you go back into my videos, you can see what I've been saying. If you go back into my videos on this channel. Well, a lot of people in this offseason were getting hyped up, giving you play-by-plays at training camp. And I've been to training camp, and I've done it before, but this year I wasn't feeling it for certain reasons, because I saw it coming. I was sitting here saying, like, this team got worse on paper. I'm not so thrilled about OBJ, but what was I calling out? If you go back in my videos, you'll see. Go back in my videos and check me out. And then if you still haven't subscribed, click subscribe when you see this, right? Click subscribe to Larry K. I mean, be a Fury Fam member. Why not? This channel is unique. This is a different channel than a lot of other things. Join Fury Fam. Become a member of Fury Fam. Click that subscribe button. Click that subscribe button. But I was saying that when Tua called out Flores, it's not because I love Flores. It's just that that's 3 years ago. We're on a completely new season, a completely new trajectory. You're on some podcast before the season. You want to be on that podcast like after the season. You want to be on that podcast after you retire. You want to be on that podcast when like it's the middle of like, I don't know, March and nothing's going on. Fine. But you're going into the season. You're going into a huge season. And when somebody asks you the question about Flores, you could easily say, look, that was 3 years ago. I said what I said. I think a lot of people kind of have their ideas about what happened. I'm not going to deny any of that. When the time's right, I'll tell everybody about it. But we worried about this season, and I wish Brian well. He didn't do that. He said he was a terrible person. He said he was yelling at him all day, like basically blamed Flores for him not being good years ago. And again, saying this praises of McDaniel thing that we already saw. We already saw him say, he made me a mixtape. He made me feel good. Like, the problem I have with that is McDaniel and Tua and the media and a lot of fans were already doing their victory lap before they won anything. They didn't even win a playoff game. They haven't won a division title. And they're out there saying, well, Flores sucked, but once I got rid of him, I really took off. Like, bro, took off to where? Took off to good stats? Like, save that comment. Save that comment for when you already are retired. You already run a Super Bowl, maybe. You already at least won a division title. You at least won a playoff game. Now say, hey, I wasn't having success because Flores is kind of a jerk. Once I got a new coach is when I had this success. Why is he acting like he's had success already when he hasn't, other than stats and getting paid? Go back on my channel. You're going to see that I called that out because I didn't like what it was signifying about the culture of this team. Then what else did I call out? I called out the market is the market. The market is the market. I thought that was one of the most arrogant things ever because I've told you guys this. I have a video on this. Go back and watch the video. Go back and watch the video that I put out on this. This Ponzi scheme that Omar Kelly reported on, go to watch his video. He said that agents are basically in collusion. Agents and players are in collusion where they're not going to accept any contract lower than the last guy because they have to continually set the market to make teams pay so much money so that the market keeps getting crazier and crazier. And it's a fake market. If it's an antitrust law, if anybody does it in the real world, like if a bunch of hamburger producers get together in your city and say hamburgers are actually only worth $7, $8 based on what it costs to buy the meat, what it costs to prepare it, what the demand is. It's only about, say, $8 to $10. But we're just going to all get together and make sure that you can never buy a hamburger unless they pay at least $100. That doesn't mean that the hamburger is actually worth $100. That doesn't mean that the McDonald's guy can come out and say, the market is the market. The market is the market. The market's $100. The market is the market. These quarterbacks and these players keep setting it higher and higher and higher. So Trevor Lawrence gets paid so much, therefore my stats are better. I got to get paid more than him. Trevor Lawrence, I got to get paid as much as Trevor Lawrence gets paid. No, I'm better than Herbert, so I get paid more than him. Herbert's not worth the money he's getting. Trevor Lawrence isn't worth the money he's getting. So because they're getting duped and paid too much, that means you should be paid too much too? That's why teams suck. That's why only a few teams win the Super Bowl every year. Do you understand that? Because every other team is overpaying for people that are not earning the money. Like, because you have a salary cap. So you can only spend so much money, man. It's not rocket science. If all your money's going to a player that's not making the impact that his money says he should make, like if you're spending half your salary on somebody who's only producing an eighth of the results, then you're gonna not be a good team. If you're spending a quarter of your salary on somebody who's producing a third of your results, you're gonna be a good team. That's why Tom Brady taking less money and Mahomes not getting spent. They're good because they're paid their value. They're a value employee, or at least what they're worth. Everybody else is overpaying. When you're overpaying, you're not going to get the output you need for that money. So now the money that's going into this person who's not producing at the same level of the money is being taken away from another position that you need. And Kenny B, thank you so much for the donation. It's much appreciated, really is. Thank you for that donation, my brother. And he says, Brian Flores got his revenge. Who remembers Dolphins signing Jay Cutler? Woo! Remember that? Oh, God. Remember Jay Cutler? Remember the memes that went around with, like, the cigarettes? Remember the memes went around with the cigarettes? Oh, he didn't want to do anything, man. He was just... And Metallic Coaster, and I appreciate you. Get Fury to 2,000. Come on. Get us to 2,000. There's no reason. What else can we do? We got nothing better to do. At least get Fury to 2,000. Make the night worthwhile somehow. Get me to 2,000. Get Phin-Addict Fury to 2,000 subscribers, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get up there. What else are we doing? What else are we doing? I just want to thank you again, Kenny. Thanks again for the super chat and the funny comment. Yeah. And I think Flores did. I mean, Flores is over there and guys are liking to play for him. And he's doing what he does. And I'm not saying Flores was so great. But I didn't like the narratives that came out on purpose. It seemed like Big O and the front office and the TUA people were basically pushing a narrative early. Like, Flores is the problem. You got to get rid of Flores. If you get rid of Flores, TUA is going to be great. And I don't think that came to fruition. I think Flores was in the building saying, this guy isn't it. This kid is not going to get us where we want to go. We should explore other options. And Tua didn't want to hear that. Carrie D says, the Dolphins are all about excessive celebration in the end zone, and the penalty flag is on the fans. They are still getting paid for mediocrity, and we are left in the parking lot. Yeah, she's right. Carrie, you're right. They're getting paid. They're happy they're getting paid. They're having fun. They're doing what they want, and the fans are the ones who get crapped on. The fans are the one who get crapped on. Period. Period. It's a sad state of affairs. It's sadly, it's not like that with a lot of NFL teams. But Flores was saying, look, I don't know about this kid. I don't know about this team. I don't know about what we're doing here. This might not work out. And this generation, not everybody in this generation, because there's players who aren't like that at all, but some people in this generation, and some people in last generations too, But some people in this generation are just like, well, I don't want to have to prove myself or face adversity or prove you wrong. If you don't praise me from the beginning and tell me I'm great from the beginning, if you show me any type of averse reaction, I want you gone. And I don't want to hear from you ever again. And you're automatically wrong. And that's that. I really think the Miami Dolphins, even this week with the whole public, like everything was a social media public publicity tour about the incident and things. And it was like they're buying their own hype. They think they can go out and not focus on football and focus on other things because that's the culture that's fostered on this team. And they think it's not going to have any repercussions on the football field. The Buffalo Bills were injured and battered and bruised, and they beat the crap out of us. And they beat the crap out of us before Tua even went out. So don't use that excuse. They beat the crap out of us before Tua even went out. That's because they're focused on what happens on the field. That's because of the way their coach is. That's because of the way their culture is. Our culture is nothing like that. Our culture is nothing like that. And it shows. And I'm sorry and I'm sad that Tua got another serious injury that brought us here. But even if Tua hadn't gotten that injury, we'd be having the same conversation right now because the way that game was going, the score was the same when Tua got hurt. The score didn't change after Tua got hurt. That was the score. We'd be having the same conversation. That same conversation. And this team is on the verge of imploding whether Tua's hurt or not. Because there's too much permissive nonsense going on. There's too much yapping. There's too much focus on yourself. And there's not enough walking the walk on the field. There's just not. What changes do I think should be made? I'll say this. I said it earlier in the show, but I'll say it again just for those who weren't here. I think that what needs to happen is Chris Greer needs to be fired, either at the end of the year or soon. Probably the end of the year is fine. Stephen Ross needs to scout out a top deputy of a successful team. Not an older guy who's already had his success in the past. Not some child prodigy who's 25, 30 years old, who everybody thinks is the next big thing. But a deputy anywhere from the 40 to 60-year-old range who's been in middle management at a successful team for several years, who's had the ability to see his boss's failures, his boss's successes, has a short list of contacts around the league, has a short list of philosophies, a short list of ideas that he's been waiting to implement. And he needs to hire that guy, let that guy preside over the team, and hire his coach, and he needs to stay out of it. Ross needs to not be in the interviews for the coaches, not have a say in the draft, not have a say in the player acquisitions, not have a say in who the head coach is, not have a say in the philosophy. He needs to just literally stay out of it and just give whoever's getting interviewed a beer, a cigar, shake his hand, and go back to New York and do his real estate business. He needs to hire a football GM, up-and-coming middle manager, and give him his chance and let him run the team. And I say we trade these big assets. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, trade these guys for assets and rebuild. The only other option, if you don't want to do that, is you go out and sign a quarterback that you think is actually capable of winning a playoff game because this team still has some talent on it, and you just shoot your shot this year with that quarterback. Just shoot your shot with that quarterback. Whoever it is. There's some guys out there. You think they're good enough? You think they're good enough to make a run? Go out there and go after those guys. Go out there and go after those guys. And see if they can make a run this year. But don't get it twisted. Like, you know, Jets fans last year thought, oh, why don't we go out and get somebody when Rodgers went down? Like, they weren't going anywhere. And I think this team has more problems. What I said to Jets fans last year, I'll say it to Dolphins fans this year. This team has more problems than just the quarterback. So you can go out and get a Flacco or get a Tannehill, whoever you want to get. It doesn't mean we're going to actually have a chance at the Super Bowl. But if you want to have a season that's halfway decent, you better go out and sign a quarterback. If you don't, then just start trading the assets now. That's my take. That's my take. That's what I think. That's what I think. But guys, it was great being with you. I got to get up tomorrow. I got to go to court tomorrow. I still got work to do. Life does go on. I will come out with a written column tomorrow. So if you want to read my written column, click join, become an official member. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can read my written column. It'll be up every Friday. I'm going to write a written column tomorrow. You'll have access to, so all the members be on the lookout for that. Everybody else, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for listening. It was great to be with you tonight. I will be back probably Monday. We're back Tuesday with Larry, Lucci, G, and Shake. We'll have panel open. You can come talk to us on the panel. We'll be plenty more time to vent. I might even pop on randomly live to take calls soon. After that, but God bless all you guys too, man. Make sure you get a good night's sleep. Life is bigger than just football. We will rebuild. We will be back better. The Dolphins will still exist in a couple of years, and we'll still have this channel. We'll still be fans. Our day will come. It just might not be this iteration. I know it's tough to take, but it will come. Hit subscribe if you haven't. I really, truly do appreciate all the support, all the super chats, all the subscriptions, all the likes. Share this video with your friends so we get some views on it. I will be back very soon, and we will be back and take calls and all of that soon. Talk to you guys later. Any news comes out, I'll keep you up to date on it. And other than that, man, best I can say is just hope you have a good night. Hope I can have the best night possible, and try to enjoy your weekend. Try to enjoy your football Sunday. Larry K. out.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz